A man enters this country illegally and is in this country for several years before committing a heinous act. And that act is a sexual molestation of a young child in the first degree and in the second degree. The predator is finally caught. And the system, what did they do? They held him in prison until he received assistance from a public defender and was brought to court for trial. Well, that man, or his attorney, I should say, decided a trial was too risky, so we're going to make a deal with the state's attorney. And in the state, the AGs, attorneys general, district attorneys, whatever you want to call them, they are as liberal as the rest of the system. They don't try to fight crime. They don't try to put criminals in prison. They try to lower the charges so the person, the illegal immigrant, can go on about his business. And that's what this case is about. A young child was brutally molested, again in the first degree and in the second degree. And there were emotional scars and a lot of recovery ahead. But instead of focusing on the victim, the conversation shifted to protecting bureaucracy, avoiding controversy, and managing headlines. And that's backwards. The first responsibility of government is to protect public safety, not political image, not activist pressure, not avoiding uncomfortable cooperation between agencies. A child should never come second to politics. And there was no prison and no accountability. If someone harms a child in that way and avoids prison, people need to ask how, why, and who made that decision. Because justice without consequences is not justice at all. Leniency for violent or predatory behavior sends a dangerous message that the system is weak, the victims don't matter, and that some offenders are treated with more compassion than the innocent people they've harmed. And if a law enforcement agency refuses to cooperate with immigration, that adds just another layer. Officials don't want to notify immigration because of the sanctuary state and sanctuary city policies. And then the question becomes simple. Are we protecting communities or protecting narratives? If a dangerous offender is unlawfully in this country and you're not going to do anything about it as a local law enforcement agency, you need to rethink your entire department. And there's a leadership issue involved here too. If the leaders of that law enforcement agency have to sit together in a room for an hour or more, mostly more, to decide whether they should call the immigration authorities because this person who was just let off to walk the streets to continue harming people is wanted by the authorities, and that would be Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But they have to wait and they have to see. Do we just let him go and hope that he doesn't do it again? Or do we call immigration and face backlash from the liberal media, the liberal politicians, and all the other protesters and activists who believe that anyone who commits a crime, whether they're in this country illegally or not, deserve to be treated fairly? Well, that predator was treated fairly in the liberals' mind. He pled his case down to a simple assault. The victim had no voice. The system failed. The judge failed. The state's attorneys failed. And the only ones who won are the public defender and the violent, predatory criminal that they were representing. But in the end, authorities decided it was the right thing to do to call immigration authorities and have this person removed. There was an active warrant of removal signed by an immigration judge. But it took them long enough to decide because, again, they had to think about their own careers. Should we do this? Should we just let this child live her life with the regret that no one helped her? And they decided maybe not. but we'll be risking our careers because we work in a sanctuary state. But they made the decision anyways. The person was taken into custody, and now the powers that be can sit back and pat each other on the back and say, we did the right thing, when in fact, that was a decision that only should have taken about 5 minutes to make. They knew the person was wanted. Immigration had all the proper documentation. Everything was checked, and everything turned out to be exactly what it was. This was the person wanted by the authorities, and he should have been immediately picked up before he was let out of the courthouse. So here again, we have a system of weak prosecutors, weak judges, and weak politicians, and weak law enforcement leaders who are afraid that they might not look good if they go against the liberal narrative, and that is immigrants matter. Illegals are in this country and they deserve to be here. Well, if you're a law enforcement leader and you think an illegal immigrant deserves to be here, then you need to rethink your life, because the word illegal defines itself. They didn't belong here. They committed a heinous crime, and thank God that they were removed. But I'm pretty sure, give this person time, and they'll only enter this country again and victimize another innocent child, and then the wheel will start turning all over again.